Hey guys, a bit of a day off from the book podcasting, and because my little app developments hit a pause, but also because I thought I couldn't help it. I see a fair bit lately of reference to Orwellian and Orwell's 1984, all because of this Karen, the censor laws surrounding search engines and social media bans on teenagers and whatnot, which is all just that little step to control. Because quite frankly, if you can't see it for what it is, because what happened in America would have scared the bejesus out of the Albos, Daniel Andrews and Jacinta Allens of Australia. They would have, in short, what happened 20, 30 odd years ago was politicians, due to their incompetent ways, due to their just 4 years is all they're really worried about, they basically sold our country out. And in a sense, they privatised everything. Right, it's all for commercialisation. Great, well and good, whatever the views are on that. But what it did do in the process is it pretty much made politicians irrelevant to the people. Back in the day, we used to go to politicians, we used to go to governments for our banking, for our power, for everything, for our power, for our schools. But politicians, as they are now falling on immigration numbers to prop up their inability to balance the books, to manage the economy, they just privatise this, privatise that, privatise, yeah, that's a great idea, let's privatise roads, yeah, user pays, and they sold it all to us like, user pays, if you're going to drive down this road, you're going to pay in this road. Rubbish like that. You're going to pay, well, you got paid TV, so, if you want to use the paid TV, you're going to pay for it, no problem. That was the world we went into, great. But what it did do is it basically made politicians redundant. It made governments pretty much so redundant. Unless you're on a pension or, in need for government welfare like that, you basically, the average person realistically doesn't get anything from the government, bar a headache, bar a sore spleen from driving down pothole roads. What do you get from your government? You used to have to, Telecom was government. And then Optus came in, and it slowly but surely everything got privatised. But back in the 80s, in my lifetime, things were, my first bill as a 14-year-old hard worker desperate to be an adult, was all through the government. I rented, I think, off the state, I paid power to the state electricity company, or SES, whatever Jacinta's trying to bring back now. But the point I'm getting at is it made governments completely, to a degree, completely irrelevant. They just, what are they? And just, what does the average person go to a government for? To control the police? Well, my point anyway is, I believe what happened in America, where if you're going to privatise everything, if you're going to pray to the money god, well, the next step in that is that corporations, people from the corporate world, are going to be who the people vote in. So my point is, I believe, I reckon it's pretty obvious, to be honest, that the Albos and the Daniel Andrews, the debating lefty drinking club buddies, who all go by, they studied political science or whatever and debated and all that business, the kind of people that I grew up alongside. So I know exactly the type of person we're dealing with. They would have been aghast. Oh gosh, geez, these people could actually, not want to listen to our systems. They made themselves redundant. So then how are they going to fix it? How are they going to keep the narrative? They used to have a handful of newspapers they had to control. We only had to keep a few people in pocket. Now we've got X. So for a while there, this is why the woke mind virus, with all the respect in the world, and I know the woke mind virus is, what is it? It's nothing. It's just an easy way to group a category. But this is my beef with it, because politicians did more damage with it. They basically removed democracy by conning people into believing there's all this division is real. That there's racism and there's this and there's that, and oh geez, if you say, like, bitch, if you say bitch, that's misogyny at the highest level, and oh gee, you know, it's all nonsense. Because you're offended does not make you right. All it is politicians jumped on it, and then when you mix that with the environment, the environmental, the greenie, you basically just turned Australia into a non-democracy. With our preferential voting system, you basically just, we don't have a democracy at the present stage in time. We don't have a democracy because the lefties, the Labor, the Jacinta Allens, Jacinta Allen it's talk that Jacinta Allen is looking like getting voted back in Victoria. Now, I'm a straight down the middle guy. I don't have like, I'm a right or I'm a left kind of person. I'm just a realist. I just go straight down the centre. Whatever, it is what it is. I'll go from my experience, forms my wisdom. And for this government to get voted back in, after the carnage they have done to Victoria, at the outright clearly paying out with the left hand, taking back with the right, clearly, very clearly, like just not even a, oh really, do you think so? It's almost like, yeah, well, hey, if it's only a right if you're not involved, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I mean, seriously? Which would be all well and good if we weren't doing so shit. I'll say it 1,000 times. If we weren't doing so rubbish, if we weren't doing so poorly, then you'd sort of go, oh yeah, whatever, have good on you, you know, you got yourself in a position, have a little win, have a little fringe benefit, whatever. It's the Australian way. Not when you're milking, not when you're like, righto, we got any more money off these bastards? Come on, mate, that's criminal at the highest magnitude. Anyway, so what I was getting at is the George Orwell gets a mention. For people that aren't aware, the 1984 George Orwell, which is the Orwellian ideology or theory or whatever it is, the Orwellian way of life, is basically that if we keep going the way we're going with governments controlling, more laws, iterate CCTV on every corner, you know, all this business, before long you'll have a situation where you have 1984, you'll have a camera there telling you what you can and can't say, basically policing your every move. And this, every time I see it, I don't know whether I want to be sick or I just want to, hey, hello, it's here. This happened to me. The Victorian state government, under the guise of a very intensive order, when I got out from the prison system, and I thought, geez, that was easy. Like, there was no resistance from judges. It was all just like smooth sailing, and I already knew I'm been involved in this IBAC investigation against one of their own. I'm not well liked. They made that very clear. I'm living in a prison cell with more AI bots in it than a Guantanamo Bay cell. Very, very, very clear. Prison system enemy number one, Michael Caliph. Anyway, so I'm thinking, why? I get out to this very intensive order, no problem. My house has then been compromised. Every phone has been compromised with what? With gadgets in smart TVs, in whoever, I don't even know. You got to pay for it. What are you going to sweep the government to what? They just watch you move and they'll whisper in the ear. My point is, I have experienced AI bot technology being piped through a combination of phone hacks, smart TV hacks, and devices like hidden camera smoke alarms. It's here. So, and what they were pretending that it was about some, like lefty ideology. You're going to do this, or geez, My point is, the government, after I dared to challenge the prison and police, I didn't even. It was hypothetical. This Orwellian business is here. It's upon us. We already have AI-controlled chatbots. If you've got a criminal record for, probably anything, and you walk into some of the larger corporations, they've already got facial recognition on you. You go to the soccer, they've already got facial recognition on you. You go to the soccer, the victory, and they have facial recognition pointing, right, that's Barry Smith, all right, okay, keep a trained eye on John Johnson. He's got a pretty good left hook on him, that one. Okay, there's Barry. Oh, that Barry Smith smart. They literally do that. Well, it's not hard to combine chatbot technology with that already very questionable on the legality side of things, as in having facial recognition is already questionable. And there's been places like Bunnings caught out with it, yet I think you'll find places like the casino still openly run it. So, hey, it's only a crime if you get caught type of thing. And you add to this the AI bot technology, and you already literally have in Victoria, Australia, where the government is next level dodgy not as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, and doing things like using AI bot technology to play the 1984 game. Which you go, yeah, so what, and this is their favourite one. This is the one that does my head in. If you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. That line gets wheeled out to con the public into thinking, yeah, that's okay. It is disgusting. You just slowly I'll give you an example, and I'll fall back on this one a lot. About 10 years ago, there was some freedom-removing laws wheeled out called the anti-fortification laws. So firstly, they manipulate the media. They pump the media full of all these ugly bikies with their face tattoos and their loud Harleys. A couple of years of that, literally, bikies this, bikies that. The bikies are the root of all evil. All the drug problems are because of the bikies. And any Victorian will remember that. 8-10 years ago, we had this campaign in the paper about how big and bad the bikies were and how every problem in Victoria, crime-wise, was caused by the bikies. Great. So they bunged on after manipulating their media mates and just pumping it full of like bikie stories and this bikie done this and this bikie did that and all this type of nonsense. They had people, literally, I can remember listening to one of the more popular talkback radio stations, they literally had people that wild up with fear ringing in saying, I saw a person on a Harley Davidson on the Pan Highway. Yeah, literally, that's how much fear they'd put in the public over the bikies. I kid you not, this is 8-10 years ago. So they clearly easily get a law passed called anti-fortification laws. Now, the anti-fortification laws, loosely, I haven't gone into it, but loosely it involved what they call clubhouses, which are often just a residential place or a business place that the bikies go and meet at. But for whatever reason, they wanted to be able to compromise these clubhouses, is what they ran with anyway, quicker. So they introduced anti-fortification laws. Now, anti-fortification laws loosely are, you can work very hard, you can be the hardest, most honest person, but technically if they want to enforce those laws, They can come and tell you, nah, mate, that door, nah, too hard. You put too many bolts on that door. Sorry, that screen, we don't, that screen you put up to keep the youth crime away, so that you didn't get your AMG stolen for the 15th time? Nah, can't have that. They impose these very, very restrictive laws. Now, is there one less drug on the street? There's more. Is there one less crime happening? There's more. It is all bonkers. It is all lies, is my point. So here we have these, and every time I see this Orwellian control, it's a farce, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I understand it, like, kind of makes you feel like, hey, okay, our government's got us. It is bollocks. It is a complete and utter lie. It is like prison. You take prison. Prison is no different to having a leaking ceiling and you putting a bucket under it. Yeah, you'll stop the water, but did you stop the problem? No, you didn't. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. And until we wisen up to it, until we start going, nah, Jacinta, none of this machete band business. Get to the root cause, please. Why are the children angry? Why is this happening? Well, hang on now. Whoa, that could take some serious, like, cultural shift there. Don't expect us to do that in 4 years. By God, I've got to get voted in. Don't worry about that. I need to get votes here. You see the system? That is the system that is very, very broken. And then you add to it, you have all these people who's, in effect, and most of them are very good, decent, hard-working, everyday people, but in effect, they're racking up lines of public money. You think they really care? They get immune to it. Their hands are tied. They end up just going through the motions. Do you think they really care about going, hey, this is the truth of the matter? Of course they don't. Because they're all in the same system. And who suffers? You. Because it ends up being you driving down potholed roads. You paying taxes through the roof to pay for their incompetence. Then they wheel out the woke mind virus. They employ DEI. So they employ off anything but skill set and merit. Then allow those people who they've just handed out government jobs to climb up the ranks until they're imposing their views on it. Hang on, you weren't even skilled for the job in the first place. And now you're like hung around long enough that you can, in effect, piss your scent all over it and do proper damage. And do things like torture inmates. Do things like try and brainwash people into your extreme left ideologies. It is nuts. Literally, we have a situation where on this very intensive order, I had people with clearly extreme left views and typical wokeness hiding behind things like gender. Oh, it's okay, you're a middle-aged white male. We're women. We can do this. But what you were doing was reprehensible. They were pimping out other women and saw no problem with that. Rewarding them with their toddlers and saw no problem with that. Using weaponized artificial intelligence to do the heads in of people, and they saw no problem with that. Even after they were aware that this weaponized AI 1984 Orwellian technique that they had stumbled into had caused some of the worst, if not the worst, crimes, innocent life-costing crimes that Victoria has ever seen. 7 years after these disgusting crimes, completely and utterly caused by this Orwellian AI bot head-doing technique, 7 years after that, and a few disgusting, ugly bollards popped up around the place, they've not only did they continue down this path, they continued down this path until a well-known violent offender was lashing out, stabbing an innocent member of the public and very, very nearly smashing a small axe, no, not a machete, a small axe, over the brave first responders' head. Now you tell me we haven't got a problem. This wheeling out of this 1984 technology really needed to be thought out a little bit better and needed to be in the hands of decent, well-managed people, not in the hands of the Neanderthal rock ape dinosaur culture that is present in Victoria's most important of important systems. That be the prisons, the police. It's disgusting. You have the same Neanderthal rock ape culture causing innocent lives to be lost that was behind things like the Lawyer X fiasco. They haven't even paid for that debt yet. How so? So let's remind you of this. Back in Tony Mockbell's day, Tony Mockbell got on Victoria Police's, the Victorian government, bad side. No, not for selling drugs, because they hurriedly, what happened was they hurriedly charged him before there was laws were changed. There was no laws surrounding precursors. So at the time, there was no, like, you could be in possession of pseudoephedrine, but until it was put together and turned into amphetamine, ecstasy, methamphetamine, there was no charge 20 odd years ago, however long ago. So Officers Rock and Officers Ape hurriedly charged Mr. Mockbell with possess or traffic amphetamine, whatever the charge was. It wasn't. It was a precursor chemical called pseudoephedrine. So Tony Mockbell went through the court and basically embarrassed Victoria Police. High-ranking, they got a hard on for him. They wanted Tony Mockbell now. They were going to go after him. My point is, that being the bonnet for Tony Mockbell led to defence lawyers. Do you think police cared? They wheel out, oh yes, people were dying everywhere. You know, we had to do something. Don't lie. The Melbourne Gangland War that they refer to was technically solved, if you want to put it like that, solved by another gangster. It wasn't solved by any good police work or anything. All that Lawyer X fiasco did was arrest drug dealers and mostly go after the person who embarrassed them in this rock ape Neanderthal like way, which is still prevalent to this day. Because why? Because things like the 2007 OPI investigation was not allowed to run its course. So now we iterate through that again. We iterate through that until that same type of police yourself in our government departments leads to what? Leads to your children running the risk of being flippin' pedophiled on. Leads to what? Leads to people like the wonderful Isla Bell, or however you say her name, getting killed at the hands of slimy maggot sugar daddies. Why? Because the same rock apes saw no problem. See absolutely no problem. She reminds me, that young 19-year-old reminds me very much so of one of the young women that were used in a desperate bid to get at this dog, this person who dared question the rock apes, Michael Califf. She, right down to the red hair, everything. And this girl was then bribed, this drug-addicted girl, was then bribed with the returned custody of her toddler in Victoria, Australia, 2019 or something that happened. And it is still prevalent to this day. Nobody's been held to account. Daniel Andrews is swanning around trying to get bigger, more coin with his Chinese business buddy. And everybody just keeps snipping along. And what happens? We're setting records in crime. We're setting records in women getting killed again. Because nobody gets held to account. Nobody does anything about it. Anyway, rant over.